his closest mates. Nevertheless, as I was saying, I think what I'm noticing right off the bat is Evan Anderson is serious. Not much might be known about him or his team, but he's looking very much in shape and very prepared. It looks like he's got the mindset of a fighter, and I know it when I see it, and it's a terrific thing, especially with young, aimless guys
in the red corner,
looking to make their way and to make their way into fighting. His opponent, Matt Pink, on his way to the cage right now. As I said before, this fight contested at 155 pounds. Evan Anderson dragging one loss into his second foray into amateur mixed martial arts. Matt Pink, of course, making his debut almost unceremoniously after Chris Melanson in his fantastic debut as well. But nevertheless, Matt Pink versus Evan Anderson. Right here, Havoc Fighting Championship 10, and it would look as if Matt Pink is from Kensei Mixed Martial Arts. And that's a fantastic thing. That team just keeps on growing. Of course, Brent Harvey here tonight in the semi-main attraction. And Trevor Wright, who's another name from that team who's helped to build mixed martial arts here locally. He's put on some great fights over the years. And I think that Matt Pink, if he was had even any part of Brent Harvey's training camp, Brent Harvey was said to be training diligently, training more than he ever had for this fight, taking Clay Dixon. If he had even a tenth of that experience, I know that Matt Pink is coming in here tonight more than ready for an amateur debut. Of course, now Matt Pink receiving last-minute preparations at the Parkland Sled ATV prep point from his mentor and coach, Kent Brown, owner of Kensei Mixed Martial Arts. Referee Andy Social doing a last-minute glove check for all the necessary gear before he heads on into battle for our second bout of the evening against Evan Anderson. Our referee for the second bout of the evening.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Adam Cheadle.
this next fight is three-minute rounds in the Havoc Fighting Championship lightweight division, and is brought to you by PSI Equipment Rentals and RJ Fight Gear. And now introducing first, in the blue corner, fighting out of Regina, Saskatchewan, representing QCMA. He stands 6 feet tall. He weighed in at 150 pounds, has an amateur record of 0 wins and 1 loss. Ladies and gentlemen, Evan Anderson. And his opponent fighting out of Red Deer, Alberta, and representing Kensei MMA. He stands 5'9". He weighed in at 150 pounds. He is making his amateur debut. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Matt Pink. The man in charge of the action when it starts inside the cage is Mr. Adam Cheadle.
Adam Cheadle calling both fighters towards the center of the ring.
Gentlemen, we've gone over the rules. Obey my commands at all times. Protect
Last
yourself
minute
at all
details.
times. If you want to
Evan
touch
Anderson
gloves,
is
do so now.
absolutely
Come on,
giving
we
the
need to
mug to Matt Pink. Matt Pink just soaking it in. Both fighters looking very well physically matched. I think we have a scrap on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. Round 1 is set to get underway. Evan Anderson coming out fast with his hands high. Backing his opponent up. Taking the center of the cage, which is oh so important in the outset. Nice crisp jab that's finding its mark there from Matt Pink. The fighters clenched and now up against the cage. Evan Anderson working a deep right underhook, which Matt Pink is doing a good job at countering here. Evan Anderson working to get inside, but not clear which takedown it is he's driving for. Both fighters breaking now. Evan Anderson again seems to kind of just seamlessly assume the center of the ring. Eats a nice jab there. Pulls up a beautiful right low kick, but takes an overhand right from Matt Pink. Matt Pink now with a right roundhouse. Strikes nice and crisp here in round 1. And again, Evan Anderson closes the distance and takes this fight against the cage. He has the center position, but he doesn't do much with it. Now reaching down now, though. The inside leg of Matt Pink looking almost like for a slam type thing. You know, that's another one of those junk moves. Moves that just kind of, they do present themselves, but they're not necessarily worth the work it takes to execute them. Evan Anderson getting underneath the hips of Matt Pink and completing a nice little takedown there. Probably would have been a little bit more to his benefit had he got Matt Pink's cage against the back, or Matt Pink's back against the cage. Nevertheless, doing a fantastic job here of passing the guard. It attention to some key details there. Controlling the hips and knees of Matt Pink before really making an effort to get to the side control. Now, of course, as we went over in the previous bout, only so much is legal. Strikes to the body are legal under amateur mixed martial arts rules. Strikes to the head, however, are not. Sometimes limiting the action on the ground under this rule set, but also forcing the fighters to think a little bit more. Just some vicious shots now to the body. Kicks to the thigh from Evan Anderson, who absolutely turned it on in the final seconds of that round. No question in my mind. Stolen around by Evan Anderson. Beautiful.
Hey, just let him get tired, man. You just have fun. Just breathe, man. Just breathe.
Despite some heavy shots from Evan Anderson, who's exerted some energy and force there in the closing seconds of round 1, Matt Pink not looking too worse for the wear. Those kicks, I know, definitely took their toll, and he is aware of them. But I can't say that's anything that's going to guide his actions going into round 2. Round 2, of course, being the deciding round in amateur mixed martial arts. Evan Anderson, I think, is going to continue with exactly how he did. Closing the distance, kind of when everything's getting a little bit out of control. But until then, he's going to be taking the center of the cage easily. If Matt Pink continues to give it up, that is, he should be controlling the center of the cage. And like I said, when things get a little too hot, he's going to close the distance, take it against the cage, and score on the ground. Round 2 set to here get underway. And as I said at the outset of this bout, both fighters seem very well physically matched. Evan Anderson's technique on the ground does seem to be superior. So that is definitely something that is going to be playing into the instructions that he has received from his coach and his teammates at Kent State Mixed Martial Arts as he heads into round 2 against Evan Anderson. Matt Pink putting a little bit of sting. A little bit of sting, a little bit of speed on that jab, and again, Evan Anderson does close the distance. Not necessarily controlling Matt Pink all that well. Matt Pink pummeling in, taking a high overhook on the, defending himself well for the most part. What he needs to do is take back his hand. Maybe pass his butt out the other side of this exchange. Taking some shots there from Evan Anderson. Evan Anderson knowing how to use the positions that he's given here, and that's something that I really, really like to see as an amateur. He's thought this through. He's prepared. And as far as an amateur performance goes, this is a fantastic performance. I think he's doing everything right. What Matt Pink needs to do here, in this position, I'd be advising him to work high left underhook and work on standing up, protecting his neck as he gets to his knees. But Evan Anderson, on top though he might be, he's not really working that hard to get to the mount position, get to side control right now. He's really just using a lot of pressure and a lot of weight to kind of dictate what's happening here, but as he's doing so, he's really limiting his options. And a nice up kick from Matt Pink that finds its mark. Matt Pink is still in this fight. And again, as Evan Anderson is, he's using what he's given. I'm not entirely sure if Matt Pink is using this kind of a 50-50 guard to work for a Kimura, but I couldn't see there, perhaps in the replay. It did seem though for a second though that he had something set up, but it's instead allowed himself to be kind of trapped in this half guard position. And the thing is he's got no momentum on his side. And as I say that, uses the momentum from a submission attempt to get back to the standing position. And he's now on top. The hometown crowd rallies, but the 10-second mark, has he done enough to steal around? Now if the fight ends here and the fight ends now, I'm going to give it to Evan Anderson. Evan Anderson, absolutely. As I said, I feel like for an amateur, dragging one loss into his second experience, he definitely looked to be doing just about everything right, using all the opportunities that he was given, and showing a good IQ in mixed martial arts. Round 3 set to get underway. Evan Anderson looking calm, composed, and like a guy who hasn't really been in a fight for the last 10 minutes, but he has been, and he has been doing very well thus far. I'm looking for Matt Pink to come out with a little bit more urgency, a little bit more energy behind the thing that he's doing. and have more of an end game as far as the strategy goes. Evan Anderson coming out with a lot of movement, fires off a beautiful jab, stepping into a nice range early on. Fantastic movement and just kind of owning the center of the ring and doing just whatever he wants to set up a double leg takedown. In terms of execution, he scored very high there. It's beautiful. Again, looking just to kind of perspective there. Evan Anderson was able to sink in a rear naked choke off the hip, rear naked choke. Fantastic display in dominance by Evan Anderson. He wasn't in control for 100% of this fight, but pretty damn close. He looked great. His wrestling looked a little bit raw, but he did have high points where he definitely looked like an educated wrestler. And I thought he brought a fantastic game plan in. And when he had the opportunity to hurt his opponent, he did not hesitate. He stayed within the boundaries of the rules under amateur mixed martial arts. But when he had Matt Pink down on the ground, the first round, heavy shots really decided that round, I think, in his favor. And it showed that, under the more professional rule set, he was here to finish.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Adam Cheadle steps in at 53 seconds of the third round for your winner by rear naked choke in the blue corner, Evan Anderson.